countries visited by my grandpa. My grandpa's from Argentina, by the way. Now, I didn't find this out until recently, but he was actually born in 1892, somewhere in Germany. Now, one of the first European countries he got to visit was in 1914. He was in Belgium. He was also in parts of France, but something tells me he didn't go very deep into France. He just kind of sat here for a little bit. He took a small little break from tourism, but he did visit Switzerland and Italy in 1923 and 1934. He didn't have to visit Austria because Austria became a part of Germany, so I guess that counts. He eventually got to see Warsaw and Poland, and soon after that, a lot of the Soviet Union, which is what it was called at the time. He used to tell me stories back in those days how horrible it was just sitting outside of Stalingrad freezing. I don't know why he never actually visited inside of Stalingrad. I guess he thought to himself he'd kind of seen enough of the continent by 1945 because he never told me he returned to Europe after that. Ever since then, he's just been chilling in Argentina. As you can see, he lived quite the life. Oh wait, I don't think I could. A very rare railway map of Antarctica. So the blue lines represent the different railways, of course, and the red triangles represent all of the stations on this continent. It's impressive because I actually didn't know much about the railway history of Antarctica. I feel like this actually says a whole lot. Someone has finally uncovered a pretty big motive by the Russian President Putin. So here is the all too famous list of unfriendly countries according to Russia. I've already covered this many times. But look at how well it lines up with the countries where you can drink tap water in. It is almost identical minus parts of Eastern Europe and the Arabian Peninsula. Could Vladimir Putin actually be working with the bottled water companies this whole time? It makes a whole lot of sense considering one of the most famous of them all, the island of Fiji, is not included on the unfriendly country list. Very curious, isn't it? A great map posted to r/maps that got a total of 8 upvotes. The title is The USA, but I drew a pizza on it. And actually, that looks like a really beautiful pizza. You can see the cheese, the crust, and the pepperoni. I don't know what this blue is labeled here for, though. The place I beat an elderly man to death in 2000. Strange. I have no idea what that has to do with pizzas, but thank you for the extra information. I think the Denver, Colorado authorities will like this too. A map showing the division of geographical regions within Africa. In the blue, we have the sub-Saharan African area, and in the red, we have the Dom-Sahara African region. You can tell here because they're holding a whip. But of course, still no one on Earth knows exactly what the hell's going on right here. When will we ever get data about this place? Expectation showing Sweden and Finland versus reality. Oh, that's a lot smaller than they described. The Republic of Congo could literally just eat these two places up. Flat map strike once again. Share to scare a Greenlander. Is this nothing but data? No, not numbers and lines and pie charts and values. This is legitimately scarier than any horror movie to this place. They find it equally scary as we talked about in the Western Sahara. Also, probably North Korea agrees. I don't blame them. Sometimes data is very terrifying. In the red, we have places I am currently at versus in the blue, places where I'd rather be. So the author of this post would rather be anywhere in North America or anywhere in South America, almost anywhere in Africa and Europe, it looks like, anywhere in Asia and Oceania as well. Strange. This man has the passion for tourism. He wants to visit the entire world. I gotta give him credit for that. And I don't blame you. Sometimes I also have that bug within me. Sometimes you just want to go anywhere versus where you currently are. Sometimes you just feel trapped, like you're in some sort of hermit kingdom ruled over by a scary dictator with nukes. It is unfortunate that such a passionate traveler out there doesn't know if they want to visit Greenland or the Western Sahara, even Somalia. I would suggest doing a bit more research out there. Could be a fun place for a vacation. Map of all the airports in Europe back in the 16th century. I gotta try to keep it together. So the bigger planes are gonna represent the main airports, the smaller ones, the secondary airports. You know, it's really unfortunate that the Europeans didn't value air travel back in those days. I wonder if it was just like misinformation or something going on, but this could have like radically increased tourism to a lot of places. Perhaps they just didn't trust that airplanes were safe back in the 1500s. Imagine you're in a war-stricken country like during the 30 Years' War where all this chaos was broken out, and you just go to the airport and leave. That would be so much nicer, right? I just don't know why they didn't do that. A map of all the countries shaped like chickens in the world. Surprisingly, according to this guy, most countries are not shaped like chickens in the world, except for this one for some reason. And this is uploaded at such low resolution, I can't even really tell what that is. They are claiming Slovenia is shaped like a chicken. That's literally one of the top search results. Slovenian map chicken. Why am I hungry now? I have literally never thought of this in my entire life, so thank you for that. I can somewhat see it. I can somewhat see the chicken. Is this some sort of like backhanded joke about how like Slovenia just left during the Yugoslav wars? Does this have anything to do with the Femboy Slovenia memes that I keep seeing? Here's a Google Trends map showing Femdom versus Femboy starting in 2020. So as you can see, Femdom was the big winner here in the very beginning. But as soon as we start to approach 2021, Femboy starts taking over, especially in the Deep South. They literally dominated for a very long time. And then there was this one breakout month in 2020. Everyone was searching Femboy. Now Femboy is really competing hardcore in this AI-only battle. Who will win out for the Fem supremacy? A nation divided. Gotta watch those swing states. Surprisingly, if the entire nation of Kazakhstan mysteriously sank, a massive lake would form in the middle of Asia. I don't know who came up with this discovery, but please give this man a Nobel Peace Prize. Who could have come up with this data? I don't think the same thing would have happened if magically Saudi Arabia sank mysteriously. Safe to say if this area did that, there probably wouldn't be a massive lake suddenly in Central Asia. Thank you so much for this fascinating info. Someone posted this without any context. We have Russia versus Ukraine. Interesting alt history map here. Wonder exactly what the author could be saying. Very fascinating because we have no context. In red, we have the countries where I kidnapped and killed. I don't know what the rest of this says, but I really wish I knew. And kilted a man. Maybe he gave a man a kilt. Yeah, he kilted a man in Oregon. I'm assuming. Maps, if the United States was an organ donor. As a geography nerd, I haven't already heard that like 50,000 times. But I do like the inclusion that yes, if the US was an organ donor, we would still have Alaska and Hawaii. I was always curious about that because normally this joke only showed the lower 48. I always thought that we were also donating Alaska and Hawaii if we were giving them mainland stuff. Guess what country I'm from? In white, the countries where I'm from, versus in red, countries I'm not from. Now, I want to say you are from Greece, but I'm not sure. Perhaps this is actually no data. You don't always have to label the no data countries. We just know automatically. New partition of Africa just dropped. We had one imperialization period of this continent, but what about second imperialization of this continent? Now, it seems to be more of a corporate takeover more than anything else. These aren't old European empires. These are actually dying mall stores instead. But I have to give them credit for coming up with a peaceful solution, drawing lines, although I don't think they learned much from us Americans. What have we told you about drawing straight lines? I'm personally in support of this food court empire. They're probably gonna have the best stuff here. I know personally I'm all about Sabaro supremacy, but to see all these places working together, I really do think they could conquer an entire continent. Love to get some Cinnabon somewhere in Egypt as well. Oh wait, did they also colonize the island of Madagascar and just give that as a state to Chick-fil-A? It's probably safe to assume Best Buy is going to conquer Macy's at some point. What's Macy's gonna do up here with just this giant desert? Speaking of Africa, not sure if you guys are aware, but the entire island of Greenland, is Greenland an island? I don't know, is basically the same exact size of this continent. It's about time we finally addressed it, and you know what's even worse? We still don't know anything about it. How could we always label Greenland as no data and it still be such a mystery with it this size? This is just like, honestly, a national tragedy. Is Greenland an island? Oh yeah, it is considered the world's largest island. Sometimes I like to just start geography beef for absolutely no reason at all. I'm just gonna go ahead and go on record that Australia is actually the world's largest island because I define Oceania as the continent and this is the island. I literally have no reason to say that. I just think, why not? Here's an epic time lapse of a war that took place between Peru and Mauritania. As you can see, they both had allies, Bolivia supporting Peru and Algeria supporting Mauritania. Let's see how crazy this one got. All right, so day 1, day 2. This is one of those time lapses you could just really tell there's a lot going on under the surface. If only we could get down there ground level and just see all the epic battles happening. It's probably one of the more detailed time lapses I've really come across recently. A map for colorblind people. In the green, we have yellow, and in the yellow, we have green. My head is just hurting even looking at this map for more than a second. So as you can see, Libya here and Russia are green and China and India are yellow. The worst part is, why is there all this yellow in Europe? It makes it really hard to differentiate. Talk about data is ugly. Countries my great-grandfather considered Italian. So in the dark red, we have the overtly Italian countries. Places like Albania, Greece, Libya, even Egypt and Israel a bit. Even France, although my great-grandfather had a weird name for it. He called about like Vichy France or Vichy France. I don't know. He's old, so he's weird. In the more lighter red or pink, we have the covertly Italian places. All the Balkans, Turkey, Syria, the rest of Northern Africa, or Siberia as well. Covertly partially Italian, Germany, and the UK. And in the gray, we actually have not no data. It's actually, he just doesn't consider them Italian. So as you can see, like, he was pretty generous with it. Something tells me my great-grandfather was a really big fan of restoring the Roman Empire. Also, perhaps a big fan of Benito Mussolini as well, but I'm not sure. The world map has been revised here in 2022. We now have a more accurate projection. You see, the geography community is often coming out with updates to the world map, but this is probably the biggest one yet. As we all know, the flat maps are not true to the sizes of countries, but I think this is probably more accurate. Again, nothing will be as accurate as a globe, but this might be the best flat map they've come up with so far. All roads lead to, Kosovo? I think the Romans might have gotten this wrong. I wonder how this man's great-grandfather feels about this post. Some Kosovo propaganda. I haven't come across that in a while. Map of Europe. If a thermonuclear war took place, borders are included and accurate. So if WW3 broke out and the nukes started flying, it appears that these borders are probably pretty accurate. You at least have my blessing. I agree. This is probably one of the best future projections I think I could have imagined. You know, sometimes we look at alt history maps, it's like, this is fun, but probably not going to happen. But this is probably one of those rare maps that gets it 100% right. Provinces in which I have, my lawyer has advised me not to continue this map. Well, I'm glad we got this half-done map at the very least. Who could have known what could have taken place behind these gray borders? I can only imagine. Map of the USA, except I've removed the largest county in each state for no apparent reason. The largest county in each state or the equivalent, and they are definitely not talking about population size here. They're just talking about land area. This looks like it would trigger somebody's like fear of holes. What's that? Tryphobia? Something. It's like Swiss cheese America in a way. Wisconsin would probably love this. Holy crap, look at this massive county in Alaska. I know like 3 people literally live there, but still. Is it safe to say that these counties probably don't have a lot of population in them because that's why they were drawn so big? I think this county in Florida is actually pretty large, like population-wise. There's a lot of people living in there. I don't know about the East Coast states. Maybe the East Coast states are built different, but the West Coast, yeah, I think so. Believe it or not, 70% of Australians live in the yellow area. You know, I'm really getting sick and tired of these maps. One phrase is destroying it all, and it's basically, yeah, people live in cities. Of course, 70% of Australians live in the yellow area because they like to live in cities. People don't live out in the random forests or mountains or deserts. They tend to be densely compacted into small areas in which there's a lot of housing. So again, I appreciate that maybe 70% of Australians live here, but can we just move on? Isn't it obvious at this point? And big thanks to my Patreon supporters. Young Waifu, Fat Nuts, Gerbil Boy, Why Am I Doing This, Sussy Melody, RyeThePie, Nora the Bald Free Smiley Philipp RF, Ortin5610, Drew's Argentinian
Alex Whitley is
Grandpa,
Mega Chad,
Alfonso M6,
aPhatNarwhal,
AryanAfterHours,
Barnsky
Bringbackpolandball,
Canadian Union,
istoledrewspetdog,
Louise,
LuxembourgLover,
Majestic Unicorn,
Max Cooper,
McBlorf,
and Mimoshiki.